talking about retrograde Jupiter. When Jupiter is retrograde, we reflect upon our principles and our inspirations and our philosophies. Now, Jupiter is retrograde 4 to 5 months out of the year, every year. So about a third of the time, Jupiter is retrograde. So this means that we're supposed to be reflecting on what inspires us about 1/3 of the time. So this is the way to really understand retrograde planets, rather than get into silliness about, well, is it good or bad? Western says it's bad, Vedic says it's good. Good or bad, as you hear me say a lot. You see that, the fact of the retrograde cycle and the retrograde period will show you how much of that energy we're supposed to be reflecting on, and how often we're supposed to be sort of taking stock and internalizing it relative to, at the very least, what the planet is as a karaka, or as an indicator. That's the universal principle. But then the universal principle becomes specific for each ascending sign. For instance, Jupiter is the indicator, the universal indicator of hope, inspiration, purpose, religion, the things we believe in for all of us. But those things take a specific shape and a specific form relative to whatever houses Jupiter also rules. Like for a Gemini person, Jupiter rules the 7th and the 10th houses, so they will tend to get inspiration from their work, duties and responsibilities, 10th house stuff, and their partners and other people, 7th house. So when Jupiter goes retrograde, not only do they reflect upon their principles and ideals and what they believe in, but they also reflect on how they tend to look toward others, 7th house, and to their duties and responsibilities, 10th house, in order to be inspired, for example. So this is the nuance of what the retrograde Jupiter brings into everyone's life. All retrograde planets have the common quality of making us reflect upon its nature as a karaka, or as an indicator, like Mercury, speech, communication, etc. But then each ascending sign is going to experience that differently based on the houses the planet rules. So again, this is with all retrograde planets, and instead of getting into the black and white, is it good or bad, we just need to see what it is. So during the Jupiter retrograde cycle, it's a time collectively also for all of us of the earth at that time. You will see that we will reflect upon what inspires us. We will internalize it. You may see those who were inspiring us before start to lose some favor as we withdraw our sort of faith and blind faith and our hope that we have maybe projected onto them. We start to kind of withdraw it a little bit and evaluate it internally. Then when Jupiter starts to move forward again, we perhaps have changed our mind, or we've gotten stronger in our faith. It doesn't necessarily mean that we change. It just means that we internalize it and we find it in ourselves when the thing is retrograde. So Jupiter's retrograde, we're reflecting upon what inspires us. Then he moves forward again, which he's usually moving forward for 2/3 of the time. Then we're acting on what inspires us, our active inspiration. So during any cycles where Jupiter is retrograde, that 4 to 5 month cycle will be a time when we are, taking stock of, how much that thing, truly inspires us, and maybe not so certain or so confident in it. And then once he starts to move forward again, we act upon it after having reflected and maybe even been sort of confused about, does this thing really inspire me? I was taught to believe this, but I don't know. It doesn't feel right. I'm not so sure if I believe that. And of course, it's also based obviously on the sign that Jupiter is in, where he's going retrograde, and wherever that sign falls relative to a person's rising sign. If Jupiter's going retrograde in Cancer, then it's going to affect an Aries person in a 4th house way at that time, because Cancer is the 4th house from Aries. If it's Leo, it would be a 5th house way, and Jupiter rules the specific houses as well. So those are the important nuances of a retrograde cycle at any given time. The nature of the planet as a karaka, or as an indicator. For Jupiter, it's hope, purpose, inspiration. And then Like if it's in someone's natal chart, it's the same principle. If it's retrograde in the natal chart, you have to see what houses it rules. And then those things will also be a source of confusion as the person tries to find their inspirations and their purpose in those areas of life, right? And then if it's retrograde in the sky, like if it's a transit, then we have to see what's the sign, where does that sign fall relative to our ascending sign, and this is how we see the specifics of that retrograde at any given time. And also, quite importantly, if it's a transit, then we have to see, do we have any planets in that sign? If Jupiter goes retrograde over one of your planets, then you're going to be reflecting on how much that thing inspires you, how much wisdom you're using in that area of life. So if Jupiter goes retrograde over someone's natal Venus, then they're going to be reflecting on how much inspiration and purpose they draw from other people and their romantic, partners, and also their desires. How much does this really inspire me? How much is this taking me away from my higher purpose? And again, you have to look at the nature of the planet, of Jupiter rather, with the planet it's going retrograde over. And again, this is a universal principle. Jupiter's going retrograde over Mars, for example. Mars and Jupiter are very friendly for each other. Jupiter goes retrograde over, Venus. Venus and Jupiter are not so friendly because they have different motivations. So these are the nuances. That's a common principle for all retrograde planets. But with Jupiter, the main thing that you can understand, it's a time to reflect upon what inspires you, what motivates you, and that filters down in the form of your gurus, your teachers, your religion, your beliefs, and more specifically, how that influences you based on your ascending sign. And, Taurus, its 8th and 11th house areas of life, they tend to be where the person looks to be inspired and motivated. Cancer, its 6th and 9th house areas of life, those tend to be where the person gets inspired. So you want to, if you're looking to personalize it that way, those are the things that you need to understand. And then also, if it's a transit in the sky, or if it's in the natal chart as well, then it brings it into that area of life. So retrograde planets are very interesting, and when Jupiter's retrograde, it's a time to reflect on what inspires us, and all of those other nuances are also there.